Hey, what's up? GW coming to you live. Hey, first of all, before I do anything, I'd like to give a big shout out to one of my fans, Emily, Casey, Peyton, my man John, Josh, just so many of you guys. And I love giving you guys shout outs. I mean, it is what it is. You know what I mean? That's the sun right there. So we're just going to move over. There we go. A little bit. Can't get rid of the glare anyway, but you try to fight with it. But there we go. So I want to talk a little bit about some stuff that I read that I'm really not too sure of how to even go about it. First of all, you may or may not have heard that Disney World, place that many of y'all have been to, I've been there when I was a kid, they're closing down the Pirates of the Caribbean ride for so-called maintenance. I don't think that's the case. I think they're actually going to get rid of that ride or revamp the whole thing. So that's what I think is going to happen with that ride. Also, Disney is not on top of my list because apparently a couple of days ago, my wife showed me this. A couple of days ago, a guy actually tried to propose to his girlfriend in Disneyland and tried, keyword tried, and security had stopped him. Now, when I was a kid, you could go to Disney World and you could just do anything. And it was the magical kingdom for the most part when you're a kid. You know what I mean? You can do pretty much anything. You can see anything. Everything felt like it was right at your fingertips is what I'm saying. But now it just seems like any time that somebody wants to have a good time, or do something memorable. See, if I proposed to my wife at Disney World, I guarantee you she would still be latched on to me crying to this day with tears of joy. Excuse me. But Disney execs plan to stop that, so I think that's pretty much, that canceled out that. And I feel bad for the guy. I mean, he went through all kinds of trouble. There was a picture on Facebook of him holding a rose. And the security guards coming in, and the story was just heartbreaking. And I hope Disney gets their act together. The other thing that I heard is that Disney is not the most reliable when it comes to tickets. Now, one thing I will tell you is I'm not saying anything about Disney as a company. That's for another time. But Disney, my wife had told me that Disney had actually now decided to take reservations. That's a great idea. But now they want you to hop all over hotels. It's a very complicated system. And apparently there was an elderly couple that wanted to spend a day in the park, or they had bought tickets for the day that they wanted to go to the park. All right, guys? Well, next thing you know, they were denied tickets. I really don't know why. And it just, they were told that they cannot have tickets for that day. Now that to me is a big mess up on Disney's part. And the other thing that Disney did, at the beginning of last year, maybe even at the end of the previous year, they bought Star Wars. And I'm going to be upfront with you. The last 3 movies sucked. I like George Lucas, but in any event, Disney's going to make a moneymaker out of everything. So what do? They built a Star Wars themed hotel, which I would like to go see. The problem is I don't have $9,000 and I'm not the Wolf of Wall Street to throw money around. So I can't go see this thing. But apparently it's so over the top priced that nobody would really show up to this thing. And one of the key things is, guys, is it gives you the true Star Wars experience. And I'm not going to lie, it does look pretty awesome. And I give Disney execs and, staff a lot of credit for coming up with that. And it really looks cool. I mean, you really are immersed in the Star Wars universe. The problem is it's so high priced that they're not getting a big turnout. So what do? They offer a special. Still a little bit lower, But I don't know if it's really in the long run going to make, any kind of an impact on John Q. Public, because nobody has that kind of money to go throw around. There's 9 billion plus Star Wars fans in the world, me included, that are going to be X'd out of this because Disney seems to raise prices for no apparent reason. And I get it. The pandemic slowed the park down and, business was slow. That I understand. Okay? I can get with that. But what I don't understand is, why all the jumping around in hoops that you have to do to have a good time. I mean, when I was a kid, my parents took me to Disney. We've been there about, 4 or 5 times. I don't know, maybe more. I had 10 million sets of those Mickey Mouse ears you had to break after you try to pack them up or whatever. My sister had, stuffed animals from there. And everything was decently priced. And my wife also told me that in some sections of the park, you're only allowed to stay 2 hours at a time. Now, I don't know if that's true, but I could see it. Then on top of everything else, I don't know why I'm going on a rant about Disney, but just, bear with me. But, I started with the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. And that's the thing. Disney, they keep changing things. If you notice, when Disney Plus come out, that came out, right before the whole LAPD thing, George Floyd and all that. And the next thing you know, they're canceling cops and they're putting disclaimers on Gone with the Wind. They put a disclaimer on. Okay? Disney had, let's be real, Disney had some really racist cartoons. But no one called Disney out for that. But now because of that, they're all pulled. In fact, even Star Wars fans have felt the wrath because Boba Fett's ship is called the Slave One, right? You can't say that. But if you go back to The Empire Strikes Back, I had the toy. It was called the Slave One. It was never meant for a racist reference. It was the name of the ship. He went out. He was a bounty hunter. He got people. He put them in there. Well, come to think of it, I guess it was a little racist. But anyways, Disney keeps changing things, and they keep buying things. Now, recently, one of the boldest moves Disney has done is they have acquired R-rated, quote-unquote, TV shows, meaning grown-up Marvel shows, like Agents of the S.H.I.E.L.D. and so on and so forth. They've also acquired rights, guys, and believe it or not, you're gonna flip when you hear this. They've acquired rights to the first Predator movie. It was going to be called Skull, and it's going to be set, I think, in the 1700s. It's about an Indian girl who wants to prove she's a warrior, and then she goes head-to-head with the Predator. Now, I have a lot of concerns about Disney buying up the Predator franchise because, as you all know, the Arnold Schwarzenegger, John McTiernan flick was great, bloody, it was not for kids, and it was a movie that I really liked. And Predator 2, Danny Glover, when the Predator was in the city, Gary Busey, it was amazing. Morton Downey Jr. was in that too as the newscaster guy. A lot of people forget about that film because then Adrian Brody's Predators overshadowed that, and it was a rehash of the first one set on a distant planet, I believe. But anyway, they bought the Predator franchise, so I don't know what they're going to do. But they keep trying to control everything. Now, I don't know how that's going to play out. Hopefully pretty good. But it just seems like times have really changed with Disney. And I think it seems like Disney gets afraid of, as a company, And the other thing, too, that I read, and this is no lie, okay? Disney is going to have the first animated kiss. Same-sex kiss, because it's the do not say gay movement. Well, I got a newsflash for you, Disney. I haven't said gay since I was about 10 years old. I don't think that way. See, I'm of the opinion, if you're happy with a guy, girl, whatever, that's your call. But if you're cool with me, you're cool with me. That's the way that I roll. Okay? I don't roll where I'm stereotypically against everybody, you know, because I feel like in this world, do whatever makes you happy. Bottom line, do whatever makes you happy. Because at least at the end of the day, you can say, or the end of your life, or whatever, you can say, hey, I did what I wanted to do in here. And that's some real stuff from me to you. But yeah, they made a big deal. It's going to be in an animated Pixar flick. I can't think of the name. But anyway, Disney seems to keep changing with the times. But I'll tell you something. I think they're taking the Pirates of the Caribbean ride back to where I started this conversation. I think they're taking the Pirates of the Caribbean ride out of the park because I think the franchise is literally dead. With Johnny Depp not being able to play Jack Sparrow, that happened a couple of years ago. I think the franchise is dead in the water. I think even if you try to replace the Jack Sparrow character, it's not going to be the same. It's not going to have the same impact. And I pretty much think Disney's pulling the plug on this. Now, granted, that ride is pretty awesome. I was on it many, many times as a kid. So I think that's really what's going on with Disney World. Also on the news feed today, speaking of Disney, a Disney family, they put a TikTok video up. And they went to Universal Studios. And they called it a ghetto. And they complained about barricades by the security line. They complained about trash on the floor. They complained about everything. And they actually showed in this TikTok video how stupid, or how ghetto, rather, this park looked. And I want to say something. I've been all over the place. I've been to Universal Studios, Florida. I've been to Disney World. When you have a big crowd inside of an amusement park of that type, you're going to have trash on the ground. And yes, you might have barricades that, are around the security. You might have smaller parking garages, but you know what you don't need to do? You don't need to let that ruin your experience. I come from the country, okay? My wife comes from the city. Now, if that family wants to see ghetto, there are places that everybody probably knows where this family should go. You go to downtown Pittsburgh and Coriopolis, where my sister lives. You want to see the ghetto, that's the ghetto, okay? But you know what? The people there make it work. All right, so just because you're high and mighty and you want to trash Universal because of straws on the ground, you're off your rocker, lady. Because there's going to be garbage wherever you go. Bottom line. But anyway, I'm not going to single her out, and I'm not going to say what's what. I don't want to start no thing with her. I just know that as a person who has been to both parks, one park is not better than the other. It depends on what you want to see. I went to Universal Studios, and I was there, I don't know, I was there over the course of a week. And let me tell you something, the Back to the Future ride was pretty awesome in my opinion. Jaws, the ride, was great until they took it out. Now they replaced it with Harry Potter, and I think the E.T. ride's back, and then we had the Great Movie ride, that was cool. Yeah, I've been there. And I also been to Disney World, and I got no complaints. One's not better than the other. It just depends on what you want to see. So anyway, I'm going to get off Disney, and I'm going to tell you one more thing before I go. If you go onto YouTube and you are interested in horror movies, Grindhouse Trailers is doing something really cool. In fact, I just saw one of the things as soon as I opened up this camera, that they are announcing, what day in history certain movies were brought out. Like today, years ago, the movie Chopping Mall premiered. Now, I don't know if you guys know about this film, but I'm going to cliff note it very, very quickly. It was about a group of teenagers who decide to stay in a mall after hours. The problem with that movie, or that scenario, is that they have killbots. What are killbots, you ask? They're robot security guards that go crazy after an electrical storm, that try to hunt down and take these teenagers out one by one. Yeah, it was the Terminators, or the Terminator before. Well, no. It was about the same time as the Terminator movie. The movie poster for this movie was very cool. It had a robot hand clutching a bag, and a bag full of body parts. It was very cool. Chopping Mall. So you can check that out. I believe it was 1986 or 1987 that film come out. I have it on a DVD full of other horror movies. I don't know what. The film itself is pretty much an interesting movie. If you haven't seen it, it's definitely from the 80s. Has the 80s vibe to it. Has the 80s music to it. And the hairstyle, the look, the whole 9 yards. But these killbots are pretty cool. And I always thought there should have been a sequel, but there hasn't been. But that's really all I wanted to say is just wanted to keep you guys up to date and give Emily a shout out because I know I forgot her when I gave Peyton and Casey and everybody a shout out last time. I was on the tip of my tongue, guys, and I stuttered, and I'm glad things are slowly getting back to normal. So, this is GW. Enjoy your night.